Good morning and welcome to my lovely city garden. Today we're going to sow some seeds directly outdoors. We'll be planting some peas. I'm going to start some carrots out in some containers. I also want to start some zucchini directly outdoors, some cucumbers, and some summer squash. They do well being direct sown outdoors, and I never got to start them indoors anyway. I was waiting because they take no time at all to sprout and then they grow really fast. However, I don't have a space in the garden ready for them yet, so what I'm going to do is for my zucchini, my cucumbers, and my summer squash, I'm going to put them in pots for now, but I also want to start in pots is some more lettuce. Since my first round of lettuce did not work out, it's still early enough to start some, and I think they do very well that way. So let's get started. So I have two different varieties, and they both pretty much say the same thing. You want to sow them about an inch deep, either 1 to 2 seeds in each hole, and then don't separate later on. They'll do better with a trellis, so I'm going to start over here where there's a fence. They can go up, and then I have some other things I can put in the ground to make the ones that are out a little further from the fence to climb up. So I'll just use this to gauge kind of where my little slots are. We're going to start with the sugar snap peas, and we'll do them over here on this side, and I'm trying to put them kind of in the middle. We'll use this to gauge about halfway. Okay, might as well pull them all up. I'm going to use them all. So even though it's May, our weather is kind of crazy, so that's why I want to still give these guys a chance. Okay, that's the first half, and I'll just push them down in about an inch and cover them up real quick. It's about an inch deep. And when I finish the other ones, I'll water it all in. I feel like making little indents in the soil was sort of a waste of time, so I'm just going to lay them down like I did and push them in. And these are the Little Marvel pea. Just going to leave this here so I remember what's on what side. Until I make a sign for it. End of May, I'm putting peas in the ground. I know, it's nuts. I'm still gonna do it, I don't care. The seed pack actually says in my zone I can sow them up till July, so, oh, big giant rock I found. Let's get some water. I'm gonna pat it down a little bit just because it's nice and soft. I don't want them to move around so much. And then I'm gonna get some water and soak this patch. It's supposed to be warm the next few days, so there should be some good growing. All right, it's gonna need more than that. I'm gonna go get some more and do it one more time. To make sure the peas in there are really wet, that way they have a better chance of germinating. I have a couple little pieces of a broken pot that for some reason I just can't get rid of. Actually, this isn't from a pot. Same pot's different. But anyway, it's something that I found, and I'm just going to use these to write down which peas are what, and then put them in front of where they're growing. All right, did a little bit of doodling, and doodled what they are. These are written on with a Sharpie. Even though Sharpies are permanent markers, they don't last that great outside, but they'll be good for now. our sugar snap, and this side was our little marvel. I'll make sure I keep coming out here and making sure this area stays consistently moist. All right, the peas are done. Let's work on some lettuce. So I'm not going to put the lettuce into the ground. I'm going to use a pot, and I have another one like this upstairs, so I'm going to start these out, see how they do, and maybe next week or the week after start some more in the next pot. That way, as these get larger, I'll have some coming behind. Now, lettuce don't stay growing too long outside once it starts getting hot, but I should get some through July, so we'll see what happens there. So I have a bib lettuce, I have salad bowl, and I have Paris. Paris is like a romaine lettuce. The salad bowl is a small curly, and the bib is, as you can see, is kind of like a roundish. It doesn't ever come out looking that round for me, but it kind of is like an open lettuce. So they're all good. I did have lettuce started indoors, but my cats got to it. I hope Brady enjoyed it. So starting it off directly outside in the pots is just like starting out in the ground. You don't have to harden anything off, even though it's by seed, because it's already growing up in the natural nature. That's better. And Paris. Salad bowl, Paris, and bib. I have it at the end. And I did grow some, I think it was the Paris in here in one of these last year, and it did very well. So, should be good. Alright, so here's the salad bowl. And I'm just going to put a bunch because I'm not sure what is going to actually get germinated. And I can always pull some. I feel like I'm never going to run out of lettuce seeds. They come with so many in there. Alright, and then Paris is going to be this one. And this light seed. Again, that's way too many, more than I need, but it's okay. And then the bib is on this side. Bib. Alright, and that's a ton of them. And once I water this in, I'm going to make sure that I am continuously coming out here to make sure that it stays wet, because with the wind, things outdoors will dry up even faster. And I'm just going to lightly cover this because the seeds are so small. They only need to be sown 1/4 inch deep. So I'm just covering enough to cover it. Get rid of some of these big pieces. It's not going to be like my nice sifted soil that's upstairs, but this isn't bad at all. And nature will work for me. Alright, I'm already burying my signs. Alright, pat it down just a little bit. Make sure it stays down so when I water it, they won't move all around too much. Okay, shaking everything up. So that's going to be our lettuce in the container. This soil has been living outside, so it's nice and moist already. I just want to make sure those seeds get wet. I'm going to put this in a warm spot, and these things will germinate in no time. Alright, it's a good spot for it for now. And since I don't want the birds to come and interrupt it, because they do love to come sit in the pots and mess with things, I'm going to get something to kind of cover the top. But not for now. I'll do that later on. Next, we're going to get all the trees and grass living inside this pot out of there so I can start some carrots. I feel like this is a pretty deep pot. Should be pretty good. And we'll take the solar light out. Alright, so I am going to add some more soil and get this soil up to the top, almost to the top of the pot. There's about, oh geez, almost 4 inches to the top. I don't want it to go completely to the top, obviously. The more soil I have in here, the larger I think the carrots will get. The pot itself is about 9 inches, maybe even a foot deep. That's just an estimate. I'm not going to measure, but plenty of room. So here's the carrots I'm going to do in the container. They're called red cord chutney. Here's my guessing what things are. 3 for $1.50, so I must have got this at the Dollar Tree. I definitely got it this year. And even though I had some old seeds, I like these because it says they'll be about 5.5 inches long when mature. So that'll be pretty good in a container like that. So every year I struggle with carrots, and it's a few different reasons why. Number one, the soil in my area, very rocky. So putting it inside of the garden hasn't worked in previous years. Last year I tried it in containers, and not this container, a different container, and they were doing really good for a while. However, I screwed up and I let it go too many days without water, and because it was in a container, it dried out too much. And where I had it, the reason why I had it in the container is in case the area got really warm, I'd be able to move it. But things got crazy and I wasn't able to move it, and one day I came out and they were all withered. So I pulled some, ended up putting something else in that container, and sort of just gave up on them. So I'm trying it again in a different container. And the other thing I struggle with is thinning them out. One year I did them in the ground outside, and I just did not have the heart to thin them out. And what I ended up with, tons of greens and not enough carrots. So I'm going to try to do my best to follow the instructions on the seed pack to make sure when they start growing to thin them out at when they're 2 inches tall, and to keep them about 3 inches apart, so the ones that I do have growing will actually grow. I'll do my best just to sow it that way. Every 3 inches I'll put a few seeds, and as you can see, I already made some rows going this way. All right, just gonna put them all out and see what happens. Here we go. Already putting too many in certain areas. Slow down, Melissa. Here we go. I'm going to take my time, but I'll speed it up for you. Alright, I did the best I could to try to put only 3. There's like 5 or 6 in each little section. So I'm going to cover this up with dirt, and I still got a bunch more seeds left, so I'll put them back in the pack. And if I see them starting to germinate, I have some other containers already filled with soil ready to go. I want to start some more in a couple weeks, or a week, or whenever I get to it. Oh, I didn't want that to happen. Oh well. I like to go nice and easy so I don't disturb the seeds that are down there. Alright. So this should be good for now. I'm going to cover this with something so I can keep that soil moist. It's still supposed to be warm the next couple of days, and I want these seeds to germinate. And it's kind of open right now. So sometimes I'll take a piece of cardboard, which I did last year in my container, and covered it up to keep it nice, the soil nice and moist for everything to germinate. I don't know if I have a piece of cardboard out here right now, but I do want to keep it covered to keep this moist. It's supposed to be really warm, and I got to work for a while tomorrow, so I don't want any issues. I want to get these things sprouted. It says between 5 to 7 days they should be sprouting. So I'll cover it, and then I'll start looking at it after 5 days to see if the carrots start going. All right, we're going to do some cucumbers. I have an older seed pack from 2023. I'm going to plant them in these 2 pots and see if they still germinate. And I have a brand new pack I got this year. Both types are both cucumber muncher. All right, here's for the older seeds, 2 from 2023. Supposed to last for several years. They did germinate for me last year. I have about 15 seeds. So I'll put a bunch in each pot.
5, 10, 15.
And just in case they do germinate, I'll keep a little bit of a distance between them. And that should do it. I'll just cover a little bit of soil, and then I'm going to water them in when I'm done with the rest of these seeds. So let's do the 2026 cucumbers now. Okay, so I'll do 4 pots of the 2026 ones, and they're, again, also muncher, different brands, and I bought them this year. I'm still going to sow a few per pot, but not as many as I did with the older seeds. Oh, actually, that's it. So for the whole seed pack, I guess I'm doing the whole seed pack. So this whole pack had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, only about 23 for the whole pack. But I'm planting them all.
With soil.
All right.
Ding, ding.
This is Addison, and she's going to top it off with soil for me. All right, get it from that. Put it in that.
Put it where?
These. Perfect. Next. Perfect. Make sure they're all covered.
Do I hear Timberly?
Next. This one. Cover them all up. One more. Thank you so much for your help, Addison. Say goodbye.
Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.
So I guess both technically they're summer squash. So we're doing the zucchini, which is the green, and the yellow, which I just usually always have called squash. I'm going to start off with the green zucchini. So I'm going to took all the yellows to put aside because I already put my little signs in. That way we don't get things mixed up. My plan is for these to grow up out here, so I don't want to have to separate them until it's time to go into the garden. So I'm only going to do a few. There's actually not a ton in here. So I'm going to separate these between all the pots. So that seed packet was brand new from this year, and it had only 10 seeds in it. So with 5 pots, I put 2 per pot. So hopefully they all germinate, or at least 5 of them do. I'd be happy with anything. So I'm going to cover them with soil and water them in. All right, let's do some of the yellow summer squash. 5 containers. These actually have more, so I'm going to do a few. All right, so I'm doing 3 in each of these. Still have a couple extras. A Okay, literally 2 extras, so I'm just gonna throw them in here too. Make that one a 4 and make this one a 4. Addison, you want to help me cover these up with soil this time again?
Yes.
You're a really good helper with that. You do these 2 and I'll do these 3. Oh, you finished before me. You want to do that last one? Perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
These Boston pickling cucumber seeds. I want to say last year, either 25 or 24. I didn't have good luck with them, but I direct sowed them right outside in ground, and I wasn't the best at making sure that they were watered enough. So I'm going to try them again this year, because why not? I have them, and I wanted to get a lot of little cucumbers to make some pickles. I have this, and then these I had from a few years ago now, and I haven't ever been able to get these to germinate, but I want to try again. Again, could be just the environment or whatnot, so might as well give it a shot before I throw them away. I hope these work. There's so many seeds. Alright, that's all I'll do for now. All right, and we'll see what happens with these. Okay. So after I started some lettuce out in one of these 3-way containers, I remembered I had another one upstairs. Turns out I have 3 more. So I got some more potting soil. I'm going to fill these up, and I'm going to start some spinach, 2 different types. Even though they're sensitive to the heat, I'm going to be okay with that. And whatever I have left for this rainbow Swiss chard I had from last year. And I'll do the 3rd one with some kale and collards. Both these things are just harvested for their greens. They both say about 65 days to harvest, so even if they're small, that'll be good. In this container, I'm going to have the spinach. I have 2 different varieties. One is called the baby leaf hybrid, and the other one is called the Bloomsdale Longstanding. They both have the same germination rate, 7 to 14 days, so they should be perfect together, and they both can be harvested as soon as the leaves start coming up. So some is supposed to stay small, but the other one should get a little bit bigger, but you don't have to wait until it gets bigger. So I think they'll be perfect for one pot together. I'm going to do the Bloomsdale Longstanding in this area and this area, and I have the little tags for it. And then for the middle and that side, I'm going to do the baby leaf hybrid and just let it all grow together. I was going to add this Swiss chard to these 3-way planters, but I can't decide on which one they go in. So I just looked inside, and there's not really a ton of them, so I'm going to put them in their own pot. I've already taken the weeds out of this small one down here, so I'm going to put them in there, and if they start growing too many and I want to separate them, I'll be able to just pull them out and put them into the garden. This is a good sized pot, so it's pretty deep with soil. So each one of these little clusters will have several little seedlings in it, hopefully, if they're viable. So I'm just going to throw them in here, and I already dropped a couple, and see what grows. Nice. Tickle them in. I'll probably get a little bit more soil and just throw it on top of here in case I miss some. So this is going to be my kale row, or kale layer, whatever. It's going to be my kale pot. I'm going to put kale in all 3 sections and see what grows. I have a bunch of seeds, but these are a little bit older, and in the first pot that I started kale, they didn't all get messed up, but from what I can see, I didn't have much kale growing. So I used a package that was open last year and left open all year, so maybe they just weren't viable anymore. So this is an older package, but it has been sealed, so it should have lasted a little bit longer. So I'm going to use a bunch of these and use it all over, and then I'll add more soil to it and water it in. One of my favorite things to make is kale soup, and you can't make kale soup without your own kale. I actually have made it only one time with my own kale, if I'm being honest. I usually just buy the kale at the grocery store. However, last year I was able to grow my own kale, and it did amazingly, and I was able to make some soup with it. All right, so let me make a tag, and then we're going to move on to spinach, one of my favorite vegetables. This has got to be the year I'm successful, even though I'm late once again. I'm going to do 2 different varieties, the baby leaf and the Bloomsdale long, like I went over earlier. That's our baby, and then the larger one. Oh, and they are larger seeds. And since spinach is very warm tolerant, or intolerant, I guess I should say, they don't like the warmth, I'm going to put them in an area where it doesn't get too much sun, get some filtered sun. I have a ton of trees back here. I'm going to leave them there. That's why another reason why I want to put them in the pots, so I'll be able to move them around. That way they'll stay cool enough to be able to grow without going to flower, and I'll be able to get a harvest this year. Just going to push them down into the soil, and then just add a little bit more soil on top. And I'm going to put them aside so I can water them in, and I can finish up my last thing I'm sowing tonight, or today. It's been a long day. In this last container, we're going to do some collards. Now back to my kale soup. Another ingredient for it is collards, and I've never grown them before, so it's something new for me. I always like to try some new things. There's tons of seeds in here. I'm not sure I need them all. But let's see what grows. All right, that should be good. And if I end up with a ton of them and there's room in the garden for me to grow them right in ground, I'll just pull little seedlings out and throw them in the ground. Pat them down. Add a tiny bit more soil on top because these are not as big as the other seeds I've just been sowing. Just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to water all these 3 pots in. So I have all the cucumbers, zucchini, squash, and the lettuce I started all covered with this screen. And that should help by keeping the critters out. I'm going to cover up these carrots so they have a better chance of germination, keeping that soil nice and moist. I'm going to go find some place to safely put them so the critters don't mess with them. So I have this black mesh that used to be used for something completely different, but I'm going to use it to cover up my pots that I just sowed some seeds in. I lift it up, obviously, when They start sprouting, but there's holes in it, so there's plenty of room for water to get in once it starts raining, which it's supposed to already today for a long time. Tana, say hi. Tana, good boy. You got a dirty face. Have you been drinking dirty water? And I got this other piece. Same idea. Mesh, but it's dark, so I'll keep the sun out from drying it up, and hopefully enough sun to get through, keeping the moisture in and getting those seeds to germinate. Oh, and the critters out, most importantly. All right, I think that's going to do it for today. I got even more things started than I thought I was going to, so I am a happy camper. Got my peas in the ground, even though they're way late. And everything else I started, I don't think it's too late for. All the seed packages pretty much said they were able to be either sown outside at this time or sown indoors way before. So since the ones that I had failed indoors way before, I tried them again now. So we'll see what happens. I'm happy that I was able to get things started, and I'm just happy that you decided to join me. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.